This is part 2. Part 1 was about the 14 types of network effects that are available, especially the ones that you can use, learning from the best in the field, from the Googles, Amazons, Facebooks of this world, but applying them to your business, to your revenue systems. And then we saw that network effects make you unstoppable. So if you want to make your business absolutely resilient and hard to attack and super defendable, then network effects are what you need to implement. And part 1 gave you very specific things that you can do, like Google reviews and working on your business model and specific marketing tactics. Today, we will look at the specific network effects of Bitcoin and the specific network effects of cases that you know, and we will go deep into the 7 layers of Bitcoin first, and then look at chilies and other tokens that you can buy have network effects. So why is Bitcoin unstoppable? If you remember, two-sided marketplaces have 2 magnets. So if you have, for example, like our business model is you have clients and you have coaches. The more clients you have, the more coaches want to work with you. The more coaches you have, the more clients will hear about you. So you have 2 magnets and higher growth. If now a competitor wants to come in and say, oh, I also want a strategy consultancy franchise model like Simon has, well, it's harder to get in because you have to compete against something that has already 2 magnets working. And so you need a much higher energy, frequency, and speed to enter that field. The 14 types of network effects, go back to video part 1 to see them, direct, indirect, and social network effects. And something that I have invested recently in 3 months ago is chilies, which is from the company Socios. And what it is a currency option for blockchain-backed products and services geared towards mainstream consumers. So they have fans of soccer clubs, for example, Bologna, FC Barcelona, Juventus, etc. And the fans are communities, as you know, and they have tokenized these communities. So the interaction between the fans and the teams are tokenized. So it's a community. You interact with the community, you own part of the community, you are even more part of the community. And when they have to decide about do we pick this sponsor or that sponsor, do we take this color for the next shirt, they involve the community, which makes them very strong. And this is why I've invested in them. How do you see network effects and what's the difference? So to calculate a network effect, you have to adopt Metcalfe's law with this, which is basically the explanation for exponential growth. Exponential growth is something like you pass by a building, they're building it right now, you see just stones. Next day, couple stones. Next day, couple stones. You even forget. After 3 weeks, you pass by there, oh, still stones. Okay, there's a little bit of wood. Okay. You pass then 6 months later, oh my God, what's this thing? It's a huge house. Where does this come from? I didn't see this coming. Because 4 months, it grows very slowly, very linear, and then it becomes exponential. The hockey stick. That's exponential growth, and it's hard for our head, which thinks linearly and not in systems. It's hard for our head to understand and to see a network effect when it's at the beginning. So let's have an example. The telephone. The first phone users. The first phone users, when they started, there was no exponential moment. When you have 2 users, 2 people with a phone, it's 1 connection. 4 people with a phone, that's 6 connections. 12 people with a phone is 66 connections. You see what's happening here? This is like when it starts raining, you feel one drip of water and you go, oh, soon it will rain. Okay. Yeah, I think we have to move soon. And then another drop and another drop. Then you start moving and then it's many drops, and then it's too late. This is exponential growth, how it feels. So 2 users, 1 connection, 4 users, 6, 12 users, 66 connections, 100 users, 4,950 connections. This is exponential growth. It's hard to understand it here. That's why write it with numbers and then you see it, right? And same thing is, yeah, but Simon, I have branding effects. I don't need network effects. Well, price effects, branding effects are strong. We use them every day. We are strategy advisors. We use them with our clients. But network effects are a whole different animal completely. Let me show you the example of Bitcoin, why it's a different animal. So one of the people I've been following is Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor was one of the first people to clearly articulate what Bitcoin is and why it's unstoppable. And he did this at a very early stage. Now, he talks about the 7 layers of security of Bitcoin. And I think these are 7 elements of network effects of Bitcoin. So let me walk you through them. The first element is energy. And energy is really behind any technology. So why does technology exist and evolve? Because it helps you save energy. You save time. Whatever energy does, it saves you time, and with that, it saves you life. That's it. That's technology, and that's why I'm so passionate about technology, because it saves time, it saves life. Now, energy in terms of Bitcoin means you can use stranded energy that would have no use. And this is huge, because there are on this planet, there are volcanoes that nobody's using, and now you can use them. You can monetize volcanoes. You can monetize rivers, which we are not doing because we are just stupid as a species. But we can use rivers. They're kinetic energy, they're moving, and so you can use that. And this is what's happening now. Bitcoiners start using this stranded energy. It's the best use of energy. Bitcoin is the best consumer, the best client for energy in the world. You put 1 terawatt energy into it, it creates more value. Monetize solar, monetize wind, which are intermittent, not always on types of energies, which are hard to use in many other industrial ways, not in this one. Then you have the layer of technology. And so because of these energy layers, these are all reasons for people to enter Bitcoin, to use Bitcoin. And this is also why it's harder if you would try to build another Bitcoin. Go, okay, yeah, it's just a 6 pages PDF, the Bitcoin white paper. I can build this. Yeah, try, go for it. You will see that it takes you all these 7 things to get there. And that's why if you start now, and if you are super successful, it will take you 2 years to be there where Bitcoin was 12 years ago. That's the point. That's a network effect. And that's why it's unstoppable and easily defendable. It will defend itself. And we have seen it. China has banned so far 5 times Bitcoin, and it just has become stronger in other countries. So it makes the network stronger. That's network effects have anti-fragile properties. So the more stress, the stronger they become. Technology. You have now ASICs miners, or very specific, very strong miners. And the energy is not a raw energy, it's encrypted energy. So that it's much more refined, and you need 1 million rigs to do what they are doing in a couple seconds right now, which creates a semiconductor industry that will align to that, like they have aligned to GPU graphic cards. Now they will align to ASICs and to this kind of industrial use, because it's an industry now. It's a trillion industry. And now you have fabrication capital in there. And when you have fabrication capital, again, you have a moat. Harder for other things to succeed. Political. When you are a big miner like Hut 8, Clean Spark, Riot, Marathon, you need a country that says, yeah, I want this, because that's a high use of their land, of their resources. And it creates waste. So you have to you need the support of the mayor, of the county, of the governor. And now you could say, well, but that's a negative thing. Yeah, because it needs to happen, it needs to work. But when it works, and it's working, then you have the support of a whole legislative element, which is again one of the 7 strong elements. For example, El Salvador, Texas, China. China says, I don't want you minors here. All right, then we move to Texas. They move to Texas. And then El Salvador says, no, come here. And the next one will be Brazil and Pakistan. Says, no, come here. Which touches the spatial element. Let's move to the spatial element. Bitcoin solves a real problem, especially for countries that are less advantageous right now. Poor countries, they are starting adopting it. Why? Because it works anywhere on Earth. That's the spatial thing. So we don't have the nation states boundaries that other currencies have and other stores of values have, that you always have a country that doesn't let you get out that easily. Try to move from one country to the other with 500 tons of gold. Hard. It's easier with Bitcoin. So right now, 100 megawatts are worth $300 million per year. $300 million per year. That's 100 megawatts Bitcoin. Now, this hash rate is not bound to a political space. So that's the space point. Many countries who were really left out of the game for decades are now saying, all right, then I take this. Miners have skin in the game because they have invested to order the rigs, which are very expensive. And so these ASICs mining rigs, they are expensive and they are waiting for 12 months until they come. So they have to go into risk. They have skin in the game. They order these things. They have committed capital. And so if something breaks, they want it to be repaired. And if an attack from the outside is coming, they are here to defend early. For example, the quantum computer. Will the supercomputer come? Will the quantum computer attack everything? Well, if we have miners who are alert for this, they will be the first one to talk about it, to start brainstorming how do we react. And they might be even much faster than, for example, if the supercomputer wants to attack the health system or legacy financial institutions, those guys are much slower to react. So we will have bigger problems at that point. Political lobbying, when you have this kind of commitment and when you have spent 16 months talking to the mayor and to the governor and now you have a relationship to them, well, now you have a lobbying piece in Washington and in all the political places. You have now political lobbying, like for the last years on Pharma had and Google had, and now you have also the miners there lobbying for blockchain. Financial. The tokenomics of Bitcoin support the holding more than anything else. Hodl. It's better to lend than to sell. It's better to borrow than to sell. You must be really not understanding Bitcoin if you sell it. You can use it as a collateral. You can keep the hard and use the soft, like we used to do with real estate, right? If you own a castle, you will not sell the castle. You will lend it, borrow it to event planners, to people who will have marriages in there, etc. But you will never sell a castle. You would never do that. It's appreciating if it's well built. So you can use it instead of said you keep the hard assets and you use the weak assets. And this is the hardest asset we ever had. Temporal, it's a store of value. Remember the story of Paris? The street of Paris, 100 years, the building, 60 years, the stores, 3 months. So Bitcoin, what many people criticize about Bitcoin and proof of work versus proof of stake is, well, it's slow and it's heavy. Yes, when you have a street made of stones, you want the stones to be heavy. You don't think, how can we make the stones lighter? No, because you don't want to move a street all the time. A store of value is something that is well built when it's slow. You will have layer 1s and layer 2 applications like the Lightning Network, etc. They are supposed to do speed and scaling. Bitcoin itself is the foundation. It's supposed to be heavy and slow because it's a store of value and it's about security and immutability. So heavy and eternal, like the streets of Paris. These are the 7 layers of Bitcoin that make this network effect. So when somebody asks you, why do you really believe that Bitcoin is unstoppable? You have now 7 reasons more, and you might send them this video. All right, keep rolling, everybody.